DJ Bruce Almighty with the super chat says, Coop, I apologize for my placement of Snoop on Twitter. I was tripping. I stand on my reason, but he's 10 to 15 in my opinion. I'm the Black House. Okay.
I think I had to send him that Think About It record that we played on Patreon. Like, I had to put that Think About It in the Twitter atmosphere. It's like,
crazy,
man. You think that Snoop can't rap his ass off. He can rap his ass off when he feel like it. I love to give you light is kind of that way, too.
Okay, I want to know why people don't think that Snoop is top 10. And you know what? Let's start the conversation like this. Who are 10 people that you would put ahead of Snoop? I got my pen and pad out.
Well, when I thought about it, this is what I'm saying. So let's go through, like, I think the people who are what I would say obvious, and I don't think and I say that respectfully to Snoop. I think Nas and Jay-Z clearly have separated themselves.
Nas, Jay, Rakim.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Those are the guys that have clearly separated themselves from Snoop.
Uh-huh. So
after that, I would tell you that it's like, well, who's better than Snoop in the end? Like, when I'm going through these songs, I want...
Someone said Prodigy. What say you? I say no.
No.
It's no way.
I love P. He's not in this conversation.
All right. Okay. Elephant in the room, Biggie.
Okay. I'll give you Big. Let's go.
You know what? There could be an argument made that Big's not better than Snoop. I'm sorry. I mean, just for the longevity conversation, obviously, you know, Big's trajectory is what it is. He probably had the highest ceiling of anybody. But if we're basing what Snoop's done from Doggy Style to now, and we're basing it off of the catalog that Biggie has accumulated in his career, unfortunately, you know, with his, you know, untimely demise, it's hard for me to say that I can put Big over Snoop like that.
Well, can I tell you something that I want to start doing? And I know you're probably going to agree with this. I'm just going to start off the year this way. I'm not saying that we got to take Biggie or Pac out of our top 10, but I think we need to asterisk them. And I think we need to actually start the top 10 by putting an asterisk next to their names. It's like they need to, like, start off the list with it saying Pac and Biggie, and then you go through your 1 through 10. But like the show that they should be included, and had they lived, they'd probably be there. But I don't know how we can keep on putting them in this top 10 the way hip hop has grown and evolved. Because here's the thing about it. They were top 10 when they passed. They passed a quarter century ago, roughly. You get what I'm saying?
I'm with you on the Biggie thing because of the lack of material, right? But Tupac had enough. I don't think Tupac really needs an asterisk like that.
Okay,
like,
I'm cool with that.
You know what I'm saying? Because Pac has more albums than a lot of people who aren't, you know, gone. You know what I mean?
Like, you would say better albums, but yes.
But you know what I'm saying? So he doesn't have an issue with not
what
having
you're saying
enough.
Is he made enough material.
He's made enough material. I think that the asterisk when it comes to Big is the lack of material. I mean, even though he did everything he could in the time frame that he could, but we saw Pac, you know, make music in different phases of hip hop, where we only saw Big make music in 2 phases, and it's 2 albums.
Okay.
You know, so, and I do think that, and again, I want to be clear, Life After Death is one of the most impressive solo missions ever, point blank, period. But I don't think that it's fair to put 2 efforts over people's whole 30-year career.
Well, that's what I mean about the asterisk.
Yeah. But we're not talking about, all right, and I want to say this, I'm going to bring
it's like it's one of those things where it's like, no, you belong in the hallowed hall, but due to unfortunate circumstances, it's like you're still in this hall, but it's like when we put, you know, and I'm glad you said the thing about Pac, you know, because like for me, he's going to be top 5 no matter what. But people, this whole KD run, like the whole Magic thing, it's like, well, Nas just did more material than Big's career, like
in the
last 18 months.
Exactly. And see, the thing is,
and it's all high quality level material. So it's like, is it Life After Death? It's like, well, no. I mean, but
And we're talking about
need to
Nas
be?
though. And we're
Does it
talking
have
about
to
Nas
be?
though. We're talking about the big dogs, and I don't want people to get it confused. Like, oh, so you're saying that, you know what I'm saying, Jadakiss is better than Big? No, I'm not. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is when it comes to people who have done things that Big did and beyond, it's not fair to continuously put Big over them when they continue to do more and more. Let's not act like Snoop ain't got Doggy Style in his catalog. Like Jada doesn't have Doggy Style in his catalog. He just doesn't. You know what I mean?
I mean, and we're gonna probably talk about Kiss a little bit in this. It's like, well, while we're there and we're having this conversation, Mike, can you put Kiss ahead of Snoop?
No.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what we've been doing though. That's what we've been out here doing.
We shouldn't have been doing that. Andrew Green with the super chat says Jada got comparable big features to Snoop and Meth. I don't think Jada can control a record like Snoop and Meth do. Like those guys change the complexity of a record just with their voice, their, you know, just the swagger they come on the record with, and the hook game. What is Jadakiss's best hook?
You make a valid point when you bring up the hook game, Mike.
Yeah. Mr. Davis with the super chat says, is there an artist in the top 10 that does not have multiple classic albums? We talked about this on the Patreon. Mm-hmm. And I think that when we talk about, and I see LL's name coming up because I know we're going to bring up LL. I think for some eras, people would say that LL has maybe 3 classics, maybe Radio, Bigger and Deffer, and Mama Said Knock You Out, or Mr. Smith, whatever. But if we're talking about the 50 greatest hip-hop albums ever, those records might not get named first. So I think that Snoop and LL, due to their longevity, due to them being superstars, and due to them having songs out the wazoo that people who might have 2 or 3 classics just don't have, they're different. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that they get judged by those standards of how many classic albums you got. Because when you look at their individual song output, their hit records, their features, and their presence out here, it outweighs that. You know what I'm saying? The impact, it outweighs that.
It does. You're absolutely right. It does.
We can't just minimize them to like, oh, okay, you did all that shit, Snoop. Well, how many classic albums do you have? You know what I mean? Like, the people who got 2 or 3 classic albums, did they do what Snoop did?
It's deeper than having a classic album or 2. I mean, and I want to be very, very clear about this. And this is what I mean about when you start making exceptions to rules about stuff, and like the Wu-Tang thing. Well, the reason that Nas and Jay are number 1 and number 2 isn't just that they've just like made classic albums. It's the length of great material that they've made over a course of time. It's not like we're talking about 1 or 2 good albums. We be sitting up here talking about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 good albums of material. Ain't nobody else talking like that except for like the faces, Ghost and Scar.
Yeah.
And so that's what it is. There are things that you do that kind of transcend it. Like what LeBron is doing right now, transcend it. You know?
Yeah, no, you're right.
It changes the parameters of how you look at things.
It's hard to rate people that do things that we haven't seen before. And I think that that's why LL and Snoop are so hard for people to rate. Because it's not about, and you said this on the Patreon, and, you know, go check out the Patreon for the people who have it. Because Coop did a real good job of breaking down Snoop's catalog and why Snoop should be top 10 and kind of facing it with the music. Because Snoop made it very clear that, A, I'm going to change my content because of this murder trial. And I'm still going to be able to make banging ass music after I do that. But what was very important, what you said, was Snoop dialed back the crazy rhyming to make better music.
It's very, very clear. That's why I started off on the Patreon with Deep Cover and Lil Ghetto Boy and those records, because it's like when you're hearing the early version of him rhyme, Murder was the case. Oh no, he's rapping his ass off, and the records are way more street. And then the murder case actually happens. And then you get the Dogg father, and really what you're getting is somebody that like literally has had their life altered by this trial, and therefore the style of music that they're making is not the same. But when they step into that foray, as in with a Bitch Please, or a Vato, or a Next Episode, or a Two of America's Most Wanted, nobody does it. Listen to some of these songs that I'm about to name, and you tell me who want to fuck with this. And these are all songs that were either a single or looked at like a single on the radio, on hip hop radio, in terms of how it was played. Deep Cover, Nothing But a G Thing, Lil Ghetto Boy, Dre Day, What's My Name, Gin and Juice, Doggy Dog World, The Shiznit, Murder Was the Case, Lottie Dottie, Ain't No Fun, Beautiful, Drop It Like It's Hot, Let's Get Blown, That's That Shit, Candy, Vato, Lay Low, Still a G Thing, What's My Name Part 2, Bitch Please, Still DRE, Next Episode, Two of America's Most Wanted, Boss Life, Vapors, Ups and Downs. Who want that? Who want that? Who
want that? Still a lot that you left off.
Can I interest you in some of his assists, like Afro Puffs? What Would You Do? New York, Down for My Niggas, Holiday Inn, I Wanna Love You by Akon. Can I interest you in some of the assists?
He's done it all.
He's done it all.
Jay Short with the super chat says, if Doggy Style was released tomorrow, people would say it's not Doggy Style. That's funny. LP with the super chat says, he's a top 10 artist, not a top 10 MC. I'm glad you said that. I wanted to have that conversation. He only has one true classic. He had ghostwriters for years, simplistic rhyme schemes, subject matter. Nas, Jay, Pop Big, KRS, Rakim, K-Dot, Cube, Ray, and others are better than him. Okay, let's take this topic.
Okay, right, he said
because I wanted to get to that Rolling Stone list.
We're talking about some 2023 predictions because somebody better drop an album this year that's not some mid.
Well, K-Dot's not better than Snoop. I can't put him over Snoop at this point now.
He don't have no Doggy Style. He didn't write nothing comparable to The Chronic. He don't have no Still DRE or Next Episode type of performance or guest appearance.
But I want to take that first.
He don't have no Nothing But a G Thing or Dre Day.
I want to take that first stanza that he said.
We're going to get off this rapidy rap shit this year.
Where he said he's a top 10 artist, not a top 10 MC. Because, it is funny, like, a lot of people, and I'm not saying you're doing this, LP, but a lot of people like to hide behind verbiage, and I think that's what Rolling Stone did in this recent list, which we're going to get to as well, where they said top 200 singers as opposed to top 200 artists or whatever, right? And clearly, nobody in their right mind would think that the vocal talent of Rihanna supersedes the vocal talent of a Michael Jackson or something. So, but anyway, when it comes to artists and MC, in my mind, what makes you an overall great MC is the artist part of it. Even when we did MC of the Year and gave that to Nas last year, it was because what he did as an artist and making full, complete efforts, full, complete songs, and basically doing all those things. It feels like when you say MC, LP, it feels like you're talking about top 10 lyricists. And when we talk about MCing, you got Pac here. So how do you feel about Pac's simplistic approach to MCing, and how is that different than what Snoop takes on? Is that more of a content thing?
MCing is a full encompassing approach.
That's what I thought. And I love Ray, but Ray hasn't collectively done, from an MCing standpoint, everything that Snoop has done.
Neither is Ghost.
No.
That's what I mean. Neither
That's
is
just
Scarface.
real, and I love Ghost. Ghost is my personal favorite.
Neither is Scarface. I love Scarface.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to tell you the truth. I was up at like 7:30 this morning playing The Diary, working out. Like, I love some Face. I woke up to the white sheet. It's like I literally said my prayers, took my dog outside, and then I put that gangster shit on.
But see, this is the thing. And like you said, Ray, Ghost, and Face, they can't make a Who Am I or What's My Name. But
they haven't either.
But Snoop has proven that he can make a Murder Was the Case. He can make something as dark as what Face makes. He can make something. Yeah.
Murder Was the Case.
Yes. He can make something.
You hear him on Vato? He literally on Vato. He talking big shit on Vato. He's like, I ain't weak for wanting peace. In fact, I could be beast of the East, motherfucker.
And even if you want to talk on the soulful tip and the storytelling tip, he can do what Ghost and Ray did when you look at Little Ghetto Boy. Like, he can do it all.
It's a choice. He's making a choice. He's making a choice. How about this?
It's like the year when Wilt said, you know what, I'm going to pass the ball and led the league in assists.
In other genres, for the artist, it's about making the song great, not writing the best lyric.
You're right.
It's about the song being great. And Snoop, and this is what I mean about him being our first, like, real, like, rap star, like, superstar. That's actually the approach and the moniker that he actually took and adopted. And that's why I talk about him the way that I do as rap's first superstar. He is really the first one to look at it from the superstar's perspective of like, no. Fuck all this like rhyming shit to be number one. I'm going to make the records that make me number one. That's what people do in other genres. We're the only genre that puts the lyrics like on that precipice. It's like... I think that Nas is one of the best lyricists of all time, but it's really more about the albums and the storytelling than it is the lyrics. You know what I'm saying? Like those moments where he like leaves Earth, it's like he has more leave Earth moments, but the meat of that shit is in the stories and in the content. And in, you know what I'm saying? It's not in like all the fancy shit that he says. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's in the real shit that he says.
Speaking of the stories, though, I think that all those things you said about Snoop, I agree with. But his predecessor is Slick Rick. And if you think about, Slick Rick was making big songs before, you know what I'm saying, hip-hop really fully crossed over. And he was doing it. You could tell that making the song was more important to Slick Rick than, you know what I'm saying, being the best quote-unquote rapper.
Like Slick Rick could have got on like an aggressive track and rap like Kane or Rakim or KRS if he wanted to. I'll be right back.
Jay Short with the super chat. What's that? Okay, go ahead. Jay Short with the super chat says, that one classic argument don't fly. Snoop made the Chronic hot. Anyone saying anything else is revisionist history. Yes, I mean, I think that when you want to talk about writing, and I'm going to talk about that when Coop comes back, I mean, all the writing that Snoop did on the Chronic is damn near as much of Snoop's album as it is Dre's. Every high point on the Chronic involves Snoop for the most part, especially, you know, when you talk about songs that got put out. Like we said on the Patreon, the reason why the next episode was supposed to be the first single is because Snoop was on it. And the reason why even the song that replaced it as the first single, which is still DRE, had to have Snoop on it. If you're putting a record out and you're Dr. Dre, Snoop has to be on it. And that's not by accident.
Well, let me also too tell you this too. There's connective thread. People forget this. This is what I mean about how he piece it together so well. How does Nothing But a G Thing end lyrically?
Yeah.
So just chill. To what?
To the next episode. And that was supposed to be the to be continued moment.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, people. So it's like, you see how Snoop is integral. Snoop is into connecting the Chronic to the Chronic 2001. Even some of the connection is literally based off his bars.
Yeah.
Like that's how important he is to the Chronic and to the Chronic 2001. In addition to Doggy Style, in addition to the blue carpet treatment.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna say this though. I think that if someone wants to say that they have somebody like a Cube, because you got to be qualified, right? Somebody like a Cube or a Pac over Snoop because of content and because, you know, they took things lyrically and content-wise to a certain level that Snoop never really proved that he can do, I'm fine with that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm fine with Pac. I don't know if I'm fine with Cube.
Listen, I understand. But again, Cube made America's Most. He made Death Certificate. He touched on a lot of things that Snoop's never, you know what I'm saying, attempted to touch on. But I feel you, because again, Snoop's done some things that Cube hasn't done. Jay Short with the super chat says Snoop is 50 and still comes out with 3 projects a year. No 5-year breaks. Yeah, that's real. Like, there's no way in the world that I could put K-Dot over Snoop after a 5-year break, dropping some mid, and Snoop's 50 years old, dropping 3 projects a year. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Like, that just don't even sound right. What do you think about this notion where people were saying that Snoop didn't write his rhymes? Like, am I missing something? Who wrote for Snoop?
That's what I was actually about to ask you and present you with the same thing. When people keep on jumping in here saying he don't write all this stuff, it's like, what are you talking about? Because it's like, well, I know him and the DLC wrote The Chronic. I know he wrote Doggy Style.
Yeah.
I know he wrote a lot of stuff for 2001.
Like, who wrote what for him? Like, we can't just go out there saying, you know, somebody wrote this. And, I mean, they're not even saying who wrote what. Because we know the stuff that Sci-Hi wrote for Kanye, right? We know the stuff that, you know, that Quentin Miller wrote for Drake. But what songs were written for Snoop and that he didn't write? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, LP is like saying Jay-Z for one. Well, what Jay-Z song?
Are you talking about the hook for Still DRE?
Talking about the hook for Still DRE?
I mean, a lot of motherfuckers write hooks for people. Pharrell does it all the time. I'm sure Nas has some hooks that were written for him.
Your hooks 50% of the time are coming from the producer of the song. You niggas have never been in the studio.
LP with the super chat says, in my opinion, you can't be a top MC if you don't write your own raps. You can be great. You can be a great artist like Kanye, Drake, Snoop, but not a top 10 MC. Pac did both on a high level. Top MC, write your own stuff is number one. Again, what rhymes did Snoop not write? What am I missing here? Who wrote? Because when I hear somebody is distinctive sounding as Snoop, whenever he raps, it sounds like Snoop wrote it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I never hear, like, you know, whenever you hear Dr. Dre rap, you can kind of imagine who wrote this for him, right? Like,
can you imagine this? Imagine this. People are literally like coming to us about the hook from Still DRE when they're saying Snoop has writers. I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world, still hitting them corners in them lolos, girl. That's all he says.
Yeah. I mean, and the person who wrote the song, Jay, he wrote it with Snoop in mind. Like,
am I missing something? They're acting like it was some. They're acting like that is some like heavy bar work, or like he like went in there and like it's like no, Snoop, say it like this.
Well, let me ask you this though, Coop. Does it mean that Snoop wrote Jay's bars when he's like in the crap tables down in AC, back on the block, Jay-Z motherfucker from the rock? Does that mean that Snoop wrote his verse?
Or is he just straight up jacking?
I mean, jacking or not, those are Snoop's writings, right? He wrote it, right?
Correct.
Come on, man. Are we serious?
What are we doing?
36 Chambers with a super chat says, this was said in the comments. Does Snoop lose the longevity conversation, given that when we reference him, we usually talk about 25 plus years of old projects more than the recent ones? Has he maintained the quality? Tell me how many people have maintained quality over 25 years, period. Most people that we talk about don't even last 25 years. So I think that when it comes to Snoop and LL, we penalize them for their longevity when they're stepping in no man's land. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people would just sit there and thrive on the stuff they made in their heyday. I got to give Snoop points for continuing to make new music. K-Dot was scared to drop an album.
If Snoop having ghostwriters, first of all,
he doesn't. Man. Give us some proof.
Hold on. Let's start with the DLC thing. First of all, Snoop's first opportunity as a writer on a major album was The Chronic. DLC showed Snoop how to write rhymes formally, and Snoop has said that. That does not make him a ghostwriter for Snoop. That means he was helping Snoop piece together words that Snoop was writing and put them into a format. My cousin had to do the same thing for me. When it was time for me to start recording, Mike, I would have these rhymes that would be 4 pages long, and he would be like, and I mean front to back 4 pages long, so it's 8 pages. He'd be like, so you have the best breath control ever? He's like, we're gonna put these in the bars.
Yeah.
It's like bars.
I mean, That's just learning how to format your stuff. Any
Right.
musician will
So
learn
that's
that.
not being a ghostwriter.
No, it's not. You know,
And
who
the
do y'all
second
think
best-
wrote? Who do y'all think wrote? Well, I'm creeping and I'm creeping and I'm creeping, and then I got cat. Come on, beeper, cat beeping. Who you think wrote that? That's all Snoop. Like, are we just not gonna give the man credit for writing everything for Dre? Like,
even when you hear stuff like These Nuts, it's apparent that Snoop
Yeah.
wrote Dre's verse on These Nuts. It's like apparent.
Mike, check.
Back with some shit that they got.
Exactly. Exactly. Like,
Like,
people
it's
are
Snoop.
wild, man. Like,
It's
I
Snoop.
feel it.
Y'all are wild.
I think what it is, man, we all
it's
have
that
our
East Coast bias. That's what it is. Let's
but
just
I think
call
we
it what
all
it
have
is.
our notions of what we think is, and we don't want to derive from that. So we want to make any type of argument to discredit the fact that Snoop probably is top 10, and we've been tripping the whole time.
That's what I'm saying, and here's what I mean. When people are sitting up here, hold on, Kaya David is talking about, hold on. Somebody wrote 2009's Malice in Wonderland for Snoop. It's like, okay, who wrote Beautiful? Who wrote Murder Was the Case?
But no,
Who
don't say
Shit Man?
somebody.
Who wrote Let Me
Who
Ride?
wrote it? Who wrote it? Do we have a name?
It doesn't matter.
How do we know?
They talking about songs that don't even like register in any sort of like catalog or historically great conversation. That's
Well,
what
no,
I'm saying.
I want to
It's
know.
like,
I
did
want
he
to
write
know
the
the
Shiznit?
songs.
Did he write the Shiznit?
No, hold on, Coop. I want to know the songs, and I want to go and listen to them and be like, you know what? Does that sound like Snoop or not? Like, how do we know somebody else wrote these songs? Are we talking about some Vlad interviews or something?
People are in the chat, Mike. People are in the chat saying that Snoop is admitted to having ghostwriters. Some people are saying that ego tripping was the first time he used some. But I'm going to tell you something that I know, Mike, because I was there. Most of Snoop's classic shit, what he's renowned for and what we're talking about right now, he wrote that shit and you know it. So stop pulling up in the chat and like disrespecting Snoop like that. This is what I'm talking about. People with this is the only culture where we disrespect our all-time great legends with such ease and try to find a way to tear them down before we'll pull them up. Like, listen to really what y'all doing and how y'all talking right now. This is Snoop. He made Doggy Style. Fuck your feelings about
And
a
the
hook
Chronic.
from Still DRE. For real.
And the
Like,
Chronic.
for real. He wrote the Chronic. He wrote the Chronic in Doggy Style. Stand down. Jay wrote the hook to Still DRE. So what, nigga?
Let me get to these super chats, and I got some more to say. DJ Bruce Almighty with the super chat says, just curious because I have trouble ranking both. Do y'all have Snoop over Wayne? I think Wayne's slightly overrated, by the way. Yeah, Snoop's over Wayne.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't think Wayne's cracking our top 10. And this is what I mean. I actually want to have a new top 10 discussion, Mike, because just when I started going through Snoop's catalog, I was thinking, man, I was like, we're East Coast biased because we were raised to be East Coast biased. And we got to start tearing that down. Because here's what I really started thinking about. If you really start giving the totality of the MC's careers, their impact, what you have is arguably 3 West Coast MCs on your top 10. You have Pac, Snoop, and you have Cube. And then you have Scarface, so you have somebody from the South. So having 4 of your top 10 MCs ever not come from the Mecca is a little bit of a shift.
I want to ask anybody who, and again, I think the Wayne thing is valid, right? Tell me that you would feel comfortable playing 20 of Wayne songs and features versus 20 of Snoop songs and features.
Wash.
Yeah.
I love Wayne. Wayne don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that to Wayne out of respect for Wayne. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what I mean. When people be talking, it's like, man, you gotta start being realistic. I want people to understand this. Doggy Style came out in December of '93, I think. Correct?
November of '93. Yeah.
Okay. I want people to listen to this and understand. It sold 800,000 copies its first week in November of 1993, and then proceeded, Mike, after going platinum. After going platinum before the year was over, it proceeded to sell 4 million records in 1994.
I was about to say, Coop, we want to talk about...
It's a live 5 million he sold. He sold 5 million in a calendar year.
Yeah, I was about to say, we talk
in
about...
1993
we talk about East Coast bias. Snoop really ran 94.
That's the problem.
Yeah, and we were taught that Big did, but no, Snoop really ran 94.
Doggy Style sold 4
now,
million.
Big is 95. Big is 95.
I'm glad that you're bringing it up.
Yeah.
Big know who was running 94.
Yeah.
How does Life After Death start off, everybody?
Yeah.
I'm sitting back dreaming of Lear Jets and Coops, the way salt shoots, and how to do what?
Sell records like Snoop, man.
Oops, I'm interrupted by a doorbell. And you want to know why Big is great? The dogs that are barking and warning are there on Somebody's Gotta Die. He's keeping the story going.
Yeah.
That's how ill Big is. The dogs from Warning are in Somebody Gotta Die. I hope y'all know your history.
Nerd talk. Jay Short with the super chat says Snoop suffers from East Coast bias and ageism. Radio won't play his new music no matter how good it is, and he's using the same producers. Interesting.
And I'm going to tell you why I started digging into Snoop and Snoop's placement more, because too many people been pulling on us and telling us that we're a Nas channel, and I keep telling people it's like, no, we're just a cultural piece that's really here for everybody that's not getting their proper and their just due. Nas is just the most obvious, blatant, disrespectful case study.
Yeah, he's the most disrespected hip-hop icon on the face of the earth.
Ever.
For no reason. So, I won't say for no reason, but unwarranted.
That's not to say that the disrespect isn't going on, and that's not to say that some of our biases that we were raised with haven't been contributing. Snoop is somebody I've been looking at. Like Mike, when I was playing Think About It, I'm like, you know who he sounds like on Think About It? Like rhythmic and timing and flowing wise? He sounds like Rakim on Let the Rhythm Hit Him.
He's going on that record, man.
He sounds like Rakim on Let the Rhythm Hit Him. The song and the fucking album.
And if we factor in,
piece words together like that, Mike, how many MCs can piece words together like that?
And you know, people want to talk about artists, not MC. How many of your people can you see go out there and freestyle like Snoop does? The only person we pull out the top 10 that goes out there and just goes off the top of the head is KRS. Yeah.
KRS.
Yeah.
KRS.
And I've seen both of them freestyle together.
The top 10, but KRS is the top 10 guy that can freestyle over.
Like, why do we totally disregard Snoop Dogg's off the top of the head freestyle skills and shit?
And it's been doing it. And you want to know what's funny that you're bringing up KRS? Arsenio Hall, when he first got Snoop on the couch, told him, he's like, KRS-One told me that a real MC knows how to freestyle. Yeah. And Snoop took the crowd into a break. Snoop got up off the couch. Snoop got up off the couch right there when put on the spot live by Arsenio Hall and proceeded to grab the mic and do what, Mike?
Freestyle.
Freestyle into commercial.
And diss Eazy-E. I think with Snoop suffers from the fact that he's done it all. And you know what I mean? He's done it for so long. We take him for granted.
That's what it is. When I talk about the East Coast bias, I'm realizing that part of why the East Coast bias exists is because Snoop exists.
Yeah. Snoop's the one that took it from him.
Snoop's the reason that the East Coast bias really exists. That's why they started putting the focus back on lyrics like that. You got to be lyrically nice with it. Because Snoop, record-wise, was crushing these niggas.
Big acknowledge that, too. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, we aren't talking about Snoop's recent work like the KD series. So it doesn't matter that he drops 3 albums in a year if we aren't talking about them. Well, all right, listen, we're not saying that Snoop's better than Nas. So who else you got? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, let's get Nas out the way. Who else you got?
Now that we move that, now that we got that out the way.
Right.
Mike, what did I just say 30 minutes ago? I said, when you were like, I was like, well, let's get the people that are clearly, ahead of Snoop out the way. And I said Nas, Jay-Z, Rakim. And what did I do after that?
Everything else is a discussion.
Pause.
Yeah.
Pause.
Melvin Wright with the super chat says, Snoop had writers for the first time on his album Ego Trippin'. Who are the writers, guys? And I say that respectfully. I know I got to catch up with some of the
No, stop. When did Ego Trippin' come out?
Ego Trippin'.
2009?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so Snoop from 1991 to 2009 is a top 10 MC. Next.
But even with that, though, who are the writers, man? We need names.
I'm going to name everything. When did
we got reference tracks?
Come out? When did Blue Carpet come out?
Blue Carpet was, what was that, 07 or something?
Oh, yeah. Snoop from 91 to 2009.
DJ Bruce Almighty with the super chat says, Cordae has written for Snoop recently. Snoop spoke on it in an interview. I'm not knocking him, though. He has had multiple writers. Okay. Well, what songs did Cordae write? That's what I want to know. I want to go to these songs and see if these songs are the reason why we have Snoop so high. You know what I mean? It's different if let's
I'm
just
pretty
say
certain.
it's different if we say Corday wrote "What's My Name" or "Murder Was the Case" or something
Was
like that. It's like,
Mike,
yeah,
I was
then we'd
actually
be
about
having
to
a
ask
different
you, was
discussion.
Corday alive when those records got made? Because if not, somebody needs to shut the fuck up about saying Corday ghost wrote for Snoop Dogg. Y'all know when we're having a Snoop Dogg legacy conversation, and y'all talking about Corday wrote for Snoop, like this motherfucker wrote Doggy Dog World or Gin and Juice. Like, what the fuck is wrong?
Kendall Outlaw with the super chat says,
No,
Gangsta Boo had the best verse on Crazy Bones. We Starving. With E40 was the worst. Yo, I remember that, man. I remember that, and that was a big moment for me because I bought that Crazy Bone double disc. I was a Super Bone fan and a Super 3-6 fan at the time. And to actually hear Gangsta Boo on that album, I was like, oh shit, they're getting somewhere, because that was before Crazy got on Getty Green. So yeah, that was I forgot all about that. We Starving. Yeah, she was flowing on there. She was flowing on Stankonia too. And we're gonna talk about Gangsta Boo. Rest in peace to her.
She did. She was flowing on Call Before I Come.
LP with the super chat says, I posted the link. He's admitted it himself. How y'all arguing with what he's saying? Who, when he wrote something, once you used it, you're disqualified. Okay. So, and KRS-One said this. KRS-One said, if Rakim wrote me a record, I'm going to rap it. So, let's just say this hypothetically.
Say that again for the people that didn't hear you in the back.
Yeah, KRS-One said, if Rakim wrote me a record, I'll rap it. And, it's Rakim. But
it's Rakim.
This is the thing, though, guys. You say you're disqualified after that. So you're telling me, after everything that Rakim, KRS, even Nas has done, if for whatever reason they say, you know what, this kid Corday said he got something for me, let me just rap this. So he's disqualified from a top 10 because he let Corday. Do y'all really think that Snoop Doggy Dogg needed Corday to write him a song? Or do you think he was doing Corday a solid? I mean, real question here. Do y'all think that, this far in Snoop's career, he's like, man, I just need some music. I gotta call Corday. I need this. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Let's be serious, guys. I think that the first person he would probably call as a writer would probably be Kendrick. If it was about that.
Do you understand that this man can literally just say, hey, I'm going to go do a show performing my hits and go make $1 million in like 7 days? You do understand what you're talking about, right? Like when you be talking.
He doesn't have to make
what's going on. Do people understand what's going on? Do you understand how the music business works?
I think the thing with Snoop, though, for real, and I think people get it confused, and this is why people like Kendrick take 5 years to make an album. Snoop's actually having fun with music. You know what I'm saying? And if part of that fun means, oh, I like this guy over here, let's make some music together. Oh, this person has a song that he wrote for me or whatever, let me spit it, whatever. Like, he's not taking himself seriously at this point. He's having fun.
Mike, in this year's edition of Plug Talk, I'm going to tell you the plug's name. So the plug told me, this Taj, her name is Taj. Taj is like, nigga, Nas ain't concerned with showing people that he knows how to rap.
Right.
He made Illmatic, and it was written.
Snoop has nothing to prove on that.
Snoop made The Chronic and Doggy Style.
Yeah.
When you make efforts like that, the whole can I rap thing, can I rap well, that's over after that. You do understand that, right? That's what I mean. It's like, do people understand that it's like what, like, do you understand what he wrote already? Like long before any of this that you're talking about, the ghostwriting, you do understand he wrote The Chronic and Doggy Style. So like, Snoop, I was literally on Twitter. It's like, that's literally Thriller and Off the Wall for West Coast hip hop heads. You feel what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? It's like, can Snoop Dogg rap well at a high level? It's like, well, have you listened to The Chronic? Have you listened to Doggy Style? Like 50 million times like the rest of black culture has? Like, you don't got no point to prove when you make albums like that. When you make them early, consecutively, before the age of 25, no, that's not having a conversation about if he can rap. That's why I dropped Think About It. Think About It's 2007. That's him showing you it's like, no, I can rap my ass off whenever.
Wrote that, I'm sure.
Whenever I feel like rapping my ass off, I can rap my ass off because I made The Chronic and Doggy Style. You want, boom, here's some proof.
Matt Max with the super chat says, "Stop saying Snoop and LL. LL had a major album in the late '80s, early '90s, and the mid-late '90s. Snoop never did anything after Death Row. Now Snoop never dropped a great album again." Hold on, let me read that again. It says Snoop never did that after Death Row. Snoop never dropped a great album again. I think Rhythm and Gangsta and the Blue Carpet Treatment is very good album.
What everybody keeps talking about these songs, like name these classic songs that you're all talking about that have been ghostwritten.
That's what I want to know. Like the records that we're actually holding Snoop high for and talking about his longevity for. What did he not write and who wrote them? LP with the super chat says, "How's this different from y'all dropping Dre for having ghost producers? He has a whole catalog before the Chronic, yet y'all knock him after having help. Snoop literally admitted to it. How is it disrespect?" Okay, this is the thing.
Hold on. Can we pause for a second?
When it comes to Dre, we're talking about, and I think I said this on the Patreon, maybe. Maybe that's why LP didn't get it, I don't know. But Dre's most impressive era, to me, is 88 to 93. And again, we're talking about, even Yella was around for, the NWA stuff. So Yella helped from a production standpoint as well. And we still say that Dr. Dre is probably the greatest producer ever. At least top 3. We're just having a discussion and saying it's not a hands down thing.
So, and I brought this up on the Patreon, and I'm going to submit it to the larger audience now. How can you have Dr. Dre as arguably the greatest producer of all time, and definitely top 5, top 3 in most people's minds, correct? Mm-hmm. Like in most people's minds, even if you don't have him number 1, he's in your top 3. If he's not in your top 5, it looks like you're being rude and disrespectful. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. The work speaks for itself.
Now, why the fuck is Snoop not getting that same energy when all of Dr. Dre's monumental moments outside of Straight Outta Compton as a producer are really attached to Snoop more than anybody else?
It is.
What are Dr. Dre's?
Like you said earlier, they're the duo. They're the duo.
They're the real duo.
They're the best producer and MC duo.
Best executive produced albums? Well, that would be The Chronic, Doggy Style in 2001. You want to know what those 3 albums have in common?
Right.
Who's the front man on those 3 albums?
Exactly.
Just for anybody who's fucking wondering what Dr. Dre's best work sounds like. Dr. Dre's best work sounds like Snoop Dogg's the front man for the reason that you call him the greatest hip-hop producer of all time. So why isn't Snoop getting some greatest MC of all time type of love the way Dr. Dre's getting greatest producer of all time type of love? Because as much as I love me some Get Rich or Die Trying or documentary, it's not fucking with Doggy Style or The Chronic on a good day, on a great day, on a glorious day where the sun is shining. And my top is back.
Just last year.
Again. Motherfuckers.
Cool. Just last year, this Super Bowl that was out in Cali. How did they market that halftime show?
Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg.
Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Yes, they did. They didn't have Eminem sitting there. It was Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Because that's the duo.
And the rest of you. And the rest of you.
Yeah.
And the rest of you get in where you fit in.
It's Belichick and Brady.
It's supposed to.
It's Belichick and Brady. The rest of you guys are Grunt. The rest of you guys are Edelman. The rest of you guys are Wes Welker. It is what it is.
Right.
So yeah,
Randy,
if Dr. Dre's that high, we gotta have Snoop high too.
Look, 50 Randy Moss, it's like you had a great season, you don't know how to act, we kicking you off the team.
Yeah. Imagine that halftime show without Snoop's involvement, Coop.
It's not a halftime show without
doesn't.
Snoop because those records don't exist without Snoop.
Nope.
Hello. There's no Dre Day without Snoop. There's no Nothing But a G Thing. Let Me Ride. There's no next episode. There's no Still DRE, which means there's no Dr. Dre single catalog without motherfucking Snoop Dogg.
You just got California Love or something.
Hello, is somebody there? Is anybody hearing what I'm saying?
That's pop song, but yeah.
Let's see, what's the first single off The Chronic?
First single off The Chronic is G-Thing.
Nope, it's Dre Day.
Was it?
It was Dre Day.
Okay.
You know who's on Dre Day, Mike?
I know. Bow Wow Wow, Yippee Yo, Yippee Yay.
Mike, the lead single to Deep Cover is what?
Yeah.
I mean, the lead single to that's what I'm saying. Is it's like no, all the Dre shit is built off of Snoop.
Yeah, Dre's
and we
solo
call him
career,
the greatest producer ever, but Snoop don't get no top 10 consideration.
It's crazy, right? Man,
what we doing out here?
Okay, so let me go further here. Let me go further here for the people that say Dre is number one, and I don't fault that because Dre's production catalog is incredible.
Tell me he's number one.
Why are we putting what are the albums are you putting Dre at number 1, 2, or 3, 4? Like, what are the 3 albums? If somebody asks you, like, yo, why is he the best producer ever? What are the 3 albums you're gonna tell them to listen to?
I want to know.
Because you're not going to tell them to listen to Straight Outta Compton. Let's just keep it a buck.
I want to know what the lead single for The Chronic was before Snoop Dogg came along. Anybody?
Was there one?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I mean, one of the things on the agenda, Mike, and I'm going to just tell the people too, because, you know, I've been on this whole Snoop kick, and I also told you all too, and I'm going to do this, well, you know, Chris the Glove Taylor is still out there. And I said once this Nas run was over and when the year had wrapped up and we had kind of got resettled that we would reach out to him to the top of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I actually want to hear from the Glove. And so I'm going to reach out to him tonight via email because he dropped his email on us and see if we can maybe bring him on and maybe explain some of maybe the Chronic and how it came to be since you all are feeling this way about Snoop. Because it's very apparent to me that the Chronic is a collaborative effort. Snoop Dogg's the front man. And this shit's not the same without him and Chris the Glove Taylor's influence either. And so that needs to be notarized and recognized.
We got to give people credit.
Especially seeing how that greatest producer of all time talk, Mike, it never started till the Chronic and Doggy Style.
I was going to say that greatest producer of all time talk is centered around the Chronic and Doggy Style in 2001.
Literally the reason it exists.
Yeah.
There was no talk like that before. Straight Outta Compton. No one can do it better. And Niggas for Life did not have him being called the greatest hip-hop producer for the time or of all time. The Chronic and Doggy Style did that.
Well, when he won Producer of the Year...
Very much looks like Snoop Dogg has a lot to do with Dr. Dre.
Well, when he won Producer of the Year at the 95 Source Awards, Doggy Style had a lot to do with that.
Well, you know, when you sell 5 million records in a calendar year, has it been 365 days you sell 5 million records?
Yeah. Mad Max in the Super Chat says, radio mid-80s, bad. Late 80s, Mama said knock you out. 90s, Mr. Smith, mid-90s, 4321. Late or mid-90s, that was late 90s. He says, Snoop don't got it like LL was dominant. I'm sorry. Snoop don't got that. LL was dominant.
Yes, he does.
He made Rakim make Mahogany. LL literally kept a hit till the early 2000s.
And what has Snoop done? So, Deep Cover comes out in 19... Hold on. Listen. Hold on. Deep Cover comes out in 1991, right?
Mm-hmm.
When does the Blue Carpet Treatment come out? 2007, right?
Yeah, I think that's 2007.
Okay, that's a 16-year gap. So what the fuck is this nigga talking about that's sitting up here talking about this LL run? Because I'm pretty certain that shit was all over the radio.
Oh, it was.
So was Boss Life.
Yep.
And so was Bato.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's like 4 or 5 records on the Blue Carpet Treatment. How many records was L getting on the radio in year 16, respectfully? Because it wasn't like it was on the Blue Carpet Treatment. People need to know their history before they pull up and start saying these things. That's why we having this conversation, because fam is pulling up and being dismissive about it, and he don't even know his shit. Blue Carpet Treatment done got more runs single-wise than any of L's late shit, including Mr. Smith. Respectfully, because Mr. Smith got Hey Lover, Lounging, and Doing It. Blue Carpet Treatment got more singles than that on it, brother. Get your shit together.
Jay Shore with the Super Chat says, this Snoop Ghostwriter argument is the Barry Bonds argument. He was already in the Hall of Fame. The quote-unquote help was for your benefit because you refused to recognize game. Yeah, I mean, again, I struggle to grasp this notion that people feel like Snoop had to call Corday to write for. Y'all don't think he was just doing him a solid or having fun?
Nope.
Like, dang,
Nope.
brother
Snoop
can't have fun?
Snoop doesn't have to record music. Nas doesn't have to record music. Jay doesn't have to record music. They record music because they love recording music at this point. It's not even for financial gain. These niggas probably ain't even making no music money.
Right.
I know Nas ain't making no music money. Taj done told me so.
DJ Bruce Almighty with the super chat.
You niggas' fault too. That's the same motherfuckers that's complaining like right now about Snoop. Like they're the problem. They're the reason that these niggas don't make no music money, and these dudes done found all these different endeavors like this because this they fan base. The niggas that try to say, like, well, he had ghostwriters in 2009. It's like, nigga, Deep Cover came out in 91.
Yeah, DJ Bruce Almighty with the super chat says, Coop, I'm not debating y'all. I agree. No one wrote Snoop's classics, but y'all asked for names. No, I appreciate the names because I didn't know any of this stuff. He said, there's no problem with ghostwriters. That's why I added, I'm not knocking him. And, you know, this is the thing with the ghostwriter thing. I do think there is an issue if you want to talk about all-time greats and ghostwriter. Like if somebody wrote Dear Mama for Pop, yeah, that's an issue. You know what I'm saying? We gotta kind of take those things into consideration. But if we talk about, and it's funny, man, it's such a it's wild, man, the fact that LL wrote MC Light Self-Destruction verse and no one cares. She's still the female GOAT, right? That's a big, if y'all care about ever having a ghostwriter, that's a big one, right? You're on Self-Destruction talking about Funky Fresh, Dressed to Repress, Ready to Party. And nobody ever holds that against Light. But y'all want to sit here and talk about Corday writing something for Snoop Dogg in 2018 or something disqualifies his whole catalog? That's wild.
That was the best, and I thought that was the best verse on Self-Destruction. It's one of the reasons why I held Light so high.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie. It's one of the reasons I held Light so high. I'm like, yeah, Light smashed them niggas on Self-Destruction.
And we're not gonna trip on the fact that Tretch wrote UNITY for Queen Latifah, huh? But y'all want to sit here and talk about Corday writing some song we don't even know that Snoop made? Like, come on, man.
And the fast word flips in UNITY, let you know that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Listen to UNITY. That's Tretch.
It's definitely Tretch. It's definitely.
But again, we don't give that same smoke to. We pick and choose who we want to give that kind of smoke to.
That's what I mean. We pick and choose who we want to make top 10 MCs apparently too, and it'd be mostly East Coast guys that are super lyrical, and guys like Snoop who actually. How about this? I wish that Andre had Snoop's catalog because we could say he's the greatest MC of all time and give Nas and Jay some run. You feel me?
And you know, my ears have a theory about Around the Way Girl and about, you know what I'm saying, Jingling Baby remix. They do. Because the producer, Molly Mall, you know, and Juice Crew connection. LL said that BDK is his favorite rapper. I have theories, but again, that doesn't take away from L.
I totally see that.
Yeah. Jay Short with the super chat says, Snoop crushed the building and y'all souls apparently. It was 95. Get over it. Even Raekwon did a song with Snoop, and that was a banger. Jada too. You got to do a song with Snoop. He's a big dog.
Everybody does a song with Snoop. It's Uncle Snoop. It's cool to do a song with Snoop.
36 Chambers with the super chat says Snoop crip walking during the Super Bowl show stole the media outlets. The kind of star power is undeniable, and the style goes a long way too. Yeah, I mean that's interesting you say that because when we talk about star power, does Dre have star power without Snoop?
I think Dre is a star, but is he Snoop? That's what I'm saying.
You think Dre is a star without Snoop, like on the mic?
Yeah, express yourself.
You think Dre is convincing on the mic? I kind of
keep their heads ringing, express yourself. No, he has moments, Mike.
You think so?
I'm not knocking Dre on the mic. I'm telling you, Snoop's the man on the mic.
I think Dre is cool on the mic. I think Dre executes well on the mic. Even, I would say, all right, I know this is going to sound funny, but if you want to talk about who's more of a star and a frontman on the mic between Dre and Puff, I got to say Puff. Now, Puff has star power.
I don't agree.
Oh, no. Puff got star power. Like, you sit there looking,
No, I
can't
think you're
nobody
talking
hold
about
me
the
down.
performances. I think you're talking about the performances and the looks. If you were to play the music, you would say Dre. Dre has natural born
No,
killers.
Dre's a better executor on the mic, yes. But I'm just talking about just being able to take in the audience and stuff. Like, Dre needs Snoop there for that. And I think Puff felt like he needed Mace there.
How about this? He's more of a classic producer in that sense, and Puff is more of a maestro. I don't know, like the word is like maestro. It's like Puff eyes and ears are a little different than Dre in terms of the full scene. Dre shit is rooted in the musicality of it being supreme. That's why we fuck with Dre. Dre wants the musicality to be supreme and won't give you less than that for what he has to provide.
I gotta give Puff.
Puff just wants to make you dance and to make a big record.
Puff's quality control is there too, but Puff is an entertainer. He want to make sure you're
Puff's
entertained.
Quality control there?
Huh? What's that?
Puff's quality control there? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, you can't be picking and choosing your quality control. While the Lock's first album ain't a classic.
Well, they just weren't a good fit for them. I mean, I think when it comes
black
to
nigga from Brooklyn who talks the way that he was talking before Puff is a fit. Right.
He made him a fit. And Big's versatility.
Say that again? He did what?
Well,
that's what I'm telling you.
No.
He can make you a star. Like,
he made him a fit.
Really want to.
But we can't discount the versatility that Big had to be able to adapt to everything that Puff was throwing. The Locks just weren't there at that point. They didn't have that level of versatility. He tried to make the Locks, Harlem World Part 2, and that wasn't going to work for them. And you know what? Even if we talk about under those circumstances, they got some decent records on there. Now, granted,
they did a good job.
You know what? I think that's probably the first Bad Boy album that people could say was sort of a flop, right?
No, how about this? It was the first debut album that you heard where it's like, oh, well, that's not great.
Yeah. They had a decent run, man. Really good run. LP with the super chat says, but he's not being knocked from being in the all-time greats. We're talking about the top 10, and we're splitting hairs. We don't know who wrote what, but we know that he didn't write it all. He said, we got to know what's been written, though. That's the thing, man. We have to know what. We have to know those.
I keep asking people, and nobody's answering the question. Are any of these writers centered around The Chronic, Doggy Style, The Blue Carpet Treatment, The Chronic 2001? Because just respectfully.
Because we also have to acknowledge the fact that Snoop wrote for a lot of other people. So if somebody...
we're having a legacy conversation. Yeah. So it's like his legacy stuff that's on the line. Unless y'all are talking about that being like infiltrated by a ghostwriter. Like, this is what I mean about how... This is why rappers have other endeavors, quite frankly.
Well, this is the splitting hairs part of it, right?
Have other endeavors, like right here, because it's like y'all would rather sit up there and try to point out ghostwriters. No, good and damn well ain't no ghostwriters on no Chronic, no Doggy Style, no 2001, no Blue Carpet Treatment, no what's the one with Beautiful on it?
You talking about Rhythm and Gangsta?
Not Rhythm and Gangsta, from the one from the Church to the Palace.
Oh yeah, Church to the Palace. Yeah.
What's that one?
That was the Church to the Palace, I think.
Is that what it's called? The album's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, that album, Rhythm and Gangsta. It's like, where the ghostwriters at for that? Show me the smoke on that.
Well, this
Show
is
me
the thing.
Smoke on the No Limit shit.
And we need to dial back, right? We need to dial back.
Who wrote Bitch Please, motherfucker?
Right. We need to dial back. The reason why we care about ghostwriters in these conversations anyway is because we want to prevent someone being elevated that didn't have the ability to make the records that got them elevated in the first place. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, if it happens, disqualified. We want to make sure that the person that's being ranked is deserving of that position and not the person who wrote it for him. You know what I mean? And so in that case, all the things that we hold Snoop high for, unless you guys have writers for those, I don't think Corday writing something in whatever year he wrote it even registers, because we're talking about somebody also who wrote The Chronic for Dr. Dre, who's probably written for a lot of other guys around as well, but he sees it as, you know what? If somebody writes something for me, that's just what we do. We just passing records around because I'm a writer first, right? So it's different if you're talking about, yo, I'm in a funk right now. I can't find any inspiration. Let me go get Quentin Miller to write this whole mixtape for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's different.
It's a respect thing, and so what we have, and now I'm starting to see some of the problem as opposed to our rock stars to our rap stars, and here's what I'm talking about. Snoop shouldn't be questioned about this because we already know what Snoop's pen looks like.
Right.
Imagine, do you know, like, let's use the Rolling Stones, for example. My buddy Andrew and I, we just did our first Mirror Music podcast for the year. We did 2 the other day. We just did Ultra Black by Nas and Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones. Now, let's look at somebody like Mick Jagger. I think Andrew was telling me that the Rolling Stones released the album in 2016. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, I'm pretty certain that Mick Jagger and Keith Richards didn't write all those records. Okay? Because it's 2016. I'm pretty certain. I don't have to go check. I'm pretty certain they didn't write all those records. Does that take away from Mick Jagger's all-time greatness as a lead singer and a frontman? Does that take away from Keith Richards as a songwriter and a guitarist? Because in 2016, literally like fucking 55 years after their first hit record, you get what I'm saying? It's like, and so when you're pulling up saying Snoop had ghostwriters, it's like we be so disrespectful so quick. These are conversations that don't happen in other genres about our greats. When they have already made their best work, we know that they have made their best work, and we sitting up here nitpicking, telling we had a ghostwriter in 2009. Bitch, don't nobody care if Snoop had no ghostwriter in 2009. Fuck is wrong with y'all?
I think they'll talk about even later than that. And you know,
what is wrong with y'all for even thinking that that's valid? Like, y'all talking like somebody wrote for Snoop in 94. Shut the fuck up.
I think you said it best when you said that we already know what Snoop's pen looks like, right? That's the important part. And, you know, even when you talk about somebody as great as Babyface, and I've been very vocal on here where I think that Babyface is probably the greatest songwriter, at least of the past 30, 40 years. We talk about actually writing for others. You know what I mean?
Our lifetime, yes.
Yeah. He actually, I mean, the Neptunes, Pharrell, wrote There You Go for, There She Goes for him. And another song on that album. Does that take away from the fact that Babyface is an incredible writer because Pharrell wrote a song for him one time? Like, come on, man.
I was in a studio in a session one time. It wasn't even a rap session. It was an R&B session. And I gave the singer some bars one time. I was like, yo, say this like this. He was like, yo, fam, that works. I'm going to take that. I was like.
Again, somebody like Babyface could allow Pharrell, early on in Pharrell's career, respectively, to write a song for him. It's not because he needed it.
Rump Shaker, Mike. Rump Shaker, Teddy Riley. Don't Pharrell got writing credits on Rump Shaker?
Yeah.
Anybody saying Teddy Riley ain't the shit because Pharrell wrote something on Rump Shaker?
Yeah. Jay Show with the Super Chat says, respectfully, if you're under 30, you don't know what's popping in the late 90s. You were still at recess. Sit back and learn.
Oh, my God. LP is up in here. Okay, LP. This is what I mean about these extra rap niggas. This motherfucker's up in here talking about.
Hold on, let me get to these super chats. Hold that thought real quick. Melvin Wright with the super chat says.
Bob Dylan. We talking about song. You talking about songwriting. Mick Jagger's a bigger star than Bob Dylan. You talking about songwriting, fam.
Let me get to these super chats real quick. Melvin Wright with the super chat says, I agree with you guys about Snoop 100%. I was just stating the facts. I think RNG is his second best album overall. Me too. And that's Dre is nowhere on it. Yeah. I mean, he's proven that he can make music without Dre. Dre, not so much. Dame252 with the super chat says, are there any rappers from the 2000s in the top 10? If not, who's close? It's a good question. I think Kendrick is probably the closest, in my opinion.
He was.
I don't think his spots have moved too much, but
people have crept up on his spots, though. That's what I mean. He was. Like, there was some distance between him and the competitors from this era. There's not space anymore.
No, there's not the same space.
And based on how I'm feeling, none of them are in the top 10. Do you understand that Kendrick would get, like, he would lose to Snoop in a versus, like, 17-3.
It would be.
And I'm not joking at all when I say that.
36 Chambers with the super chat says, I think that the reason people are pushing back on the top 10 all-time discussion is deep, and this high, and this is why we need to split hairs to weed out the real list. I understand splitting hairs, but I think that we also have to consider that there's not, even the people who are in the top 10 justifiably, line them up 20, 30 records with Snoop Dogg. They're going to be in trouble. It just is what it is. LP with the super chat says, in y'all opinion, if Quentin Miller wrote The Pressure for Nas, does that change anything? No. It's hard for me to say it doesn't if I'm being fair and objective. It doesn't change anything for me because Quentin Miller didn't write The World Is Yours. Quentin Miller didn't write Silent Murder. Like, I don't feel
shit
like
on KD3 either.
I don't feel like when somebody is already made out here that you do one thing 30 years into your career and it changes everything you did 30 years ago. Come on.
That's what I'm saying. It's like there are moments where as an artist in your genre of music where you transcend and you don't come back once you transcend.
Now, let me say this.
Go ahead. No, please.
Now, if hypothetically, because we know this didn't happen, hypothetically, let's say Quentin Miller does write Pressure, and let's say hypothetically, Pressure is Nas's best song ever, then yes, then we need to have some discussions. Or if we find out somebody wrote Made You Look or something, like something that's high level where you're like, oh, that's a game changer. Yeah, we need to talk about that. That's when you can split hairs. But if you can't even name the songs that people are talking about, and these songs ain't even significant in the catalog like that, it's a non-factor.
Well, let's go to The Pressure, the song.
Yeah.
Where does that rank on KD2? Is it a top 5 song on KD2?
I don't think so.
So we're not even talking about a top 5 record on maybe his, 5th or 6th best album?
That's being generous. Maybe 7th now.
Right, and it's maybe not even one of his 100 best songs. Is it one of his 100 best songs to you? Because I could probably name you 100 Nas songs better than The Pressure. You feel me?
Wow,
so what are we doing?
Yeah.
I could literally, when a man has a catalog where I could literally give you 100 songs better than this ghostwriting song allegedly that you're talking about. It's just so we don't have this issue in other genres. We don't.
I think what people are hung up on is the actual notion of a ghostwriter as opposed to the actual, results of that ghostwriting. Now, the reason why we say those things about the Drake situation is because that was some of his strongest stuff at that point.
It was his best stuff.
It was really good.
It was his best stuff.
And the only reason why this that mixtape's still not heralded is because it got exposed. You know what I mean? Other than that, that's some of his strongest work at that point. And so that's why that became an issue.
Hey, look here. Hey, Mike, I know Wayne is great. I hold some of that Gilly shit against him because that's prime. That's your prime years, and I knock him for that.
I agree. Me too.
Me too.
Now,
ain't no way around it.
You know what? That's a little bit more.
He's all-time great. No, that hurts his case.
No, that's a little bit more valid than people talking about this Snoop stuff because that's Wayne when he actually changed into a contending MC. Yeah,
that's his ascension.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Jay Short with the super chat says, "Exhibit killed, bitch, please." At the time, I think the Source ranked it as a top 10 feature ever, and Snoop still made it his own song without Lyrical Miracle. He did. And I loved Exhibit's verse on there. That song was big for Exhibit, man. That was his breakout moment.
Can you listen to this? Imagine being somebody like a hold on. Listen to what I'm saying. Like, imagine being Prince and you done made Purple Rain and you done made Sign of the Times and you're releasing Diamonds and Pearls in 1992 and somebody's like, Babyface wrote Cream for Prince. It's like, don't nobody care, motherfucker. Don't nobody care about that.
Again, it's only a discussion. Man. It's only a discussion if somebody wrote your best stuff. And I don't want to get people confused because I know people are saying that we're being inconsistent, this, that, and the third. I don't want to get people confused because obviously songwriting for a singer is a lot different than a rapper. And I agree with that. You know what I mean? Like when you're talking about a singer, you're actually singing notes and you're writing song for somebody's vocal ability. When you're rapping, it's more so about, look, I want to hear the person who actually spit this as opposed to, you know, the person that, I want to hear the person that actually wrote this as opposed to the person that's performing it. But you do have to understand when it comes to unique voices like a Snoop or a Q-Tip, there could be people like a Corday out there. It's like, yo, I want to hear what my shit sounds like in Snoop's voice. And I think that even the Still D.R.E. hook is a great example of that. Jay-Z writing from a standpoint of like, I would love to hear Snoop say this in this way. You know what I mean? But even with all that being said, we know what Snoop's pen game is like. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's like, we're never confused about how Snoop Dogg sounds on the mic and what Snoop can give you as an MC and what Snoop can do when the mic's in his hand on some freestyle shit. We're never confused about that. And I think the other part of him being top 10 that we don't consider a lot either, Snoop's one of the best performers ever in hip hop.
I went to his show down here for my birthday some years ago. It's one of the best rap shows I've ever been to. Like, top 5. It's a top 5 rap show that I've been to. Yes.
Rock a Shot with the Super Chat says, Michael only wrote 4 songs on Thriller. But again, Michael has a very, very unique voice. And so, yes, you're going to get some of the best songwriters ever to try to sing you songs because they want to hear Human Nature in Michael's voice. Have y'all heard the demo of Human Nature? Have y'all heard the original singer on it? Sounds nothing like the version that Michael has. You need that. It's different when we're talking about singers. Now, I'll give you that. And my only reason for bringing up Babyface was the fact that Babyface has written for everybody. And even somebody like Babyface had a moment where he was like, yo, it'd be cool or fun to have Pharrell write me a song. He didn't need Pharrell to write him a song. He's Babyface. He could write anything. He wrote the whole fucking Waiting to Exhale soundtrack for everybody on there. Sometimes people who are great artists, who have fun with music, just have fun collaborating and might have somebody write something for them, not because they have to, because they think it'll be fun. That's it. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like I said, it's not like somebody wrote Murder Was the Case for Snoop. Now, that's different.
So, right now when I look at it, I say, this is what I mean. This list needs to be reworked because here, you can't put Jada Kiss and Black Thought and Method Man and those guys ahead of Snoop. You just can't.
You can't. They're better bar for bar MCs than Snoop, yes, but they're not.
Yeah, they're better lyricists than Snoop.
Exactly. That's a different list. It's a different list.
So when I look at it, Nas, J, Rakim, Ice Cube, Scarface, LL, KRS. After that, what say you?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Oh, and Pac, of course. I'd be forgetting Pac because, you know.
Say that again.
Nas, Jay, Rakim, Ice Cube, Scarface, LL, KRS, Pac. I think those 8 guys. Because here's what they have. They have the impact. They have the lyricism that people are talking about. They have the songs. They have the catalog. If you want to tell me these 8 guys are better than Snoop, I mean, you know how I feel about Ray. You know how you feel about Ghost. How can we put Ray and Ghost ahead of Snoop if we gonna, like, think about this. If the lyrics are just one part of it, and it's an all-encompassing thing, where's Ghost and Ray better? Ghost is a better album maker. Ray is arguably one of the few people that's made something Doggy Style worthy, even it being a contributory effort. Doggy Style is very much a contributory effort in a lot of ways, too.
It is.
You know?
But it's no question on who the star is on that. Like,
right. And here's the thing. And Taj was even bringing this up when we were talking. She is like, well, Ray got 2 in the top 10 like Snoop, you know, Into the Woo and the Purple Tape. And I was like, well, he do. But Snoop is the star on both of his top 10 albums, as in on The Chronic and on Doggy Style. With Snoop's the star. As much as I love Ray, Ray's your bronze medalist in terms of star power on Enter the Wu-Tang because it goes to Meth and Dirty. And some people even feel like Dirty is the star of Into the Wu-Tang even over meth at times, and that's arguable. And that's a viable thing too. So
Ray has incarcerated Scarfaces, but then Snoop has Gin and Juice, Who Am I, and Murder Was the Case, and the Shiznit. And it's like, no, it's not the same.
And that's what I mean. Now, here's what Ray has. Now, Ray's second best album to me is better than Snoop's second best album, and the same thing for Ghost. You feel me? But have they had the impact as solo artists that this man has had? You feel me?
I continuously bring up LL because I think when it comes to big songs, you have to go to LL and J to even compete with Snoop. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you talk about individual songs, and that's why I struggle with the KRS and Scarface, and even LL to a degree at this point. Now, if you would have asked me in 2000 who was better, I would say LL. But at this point, it's hard for me to just blatantly just say that LL's better than Snoop. It's hard. I mean, I think that the Cube thing, I may lean more towards Cube because of the he has the big records too. I think he has one of the biggest hip hop records ever in Good Day. I think
but I got Cube on this list ahead of Snoop. No, I got Cube.
No. I'm just saying all the people that you named ahead of Snoop, Cube's the one that I can say definitively. But I have to have a discussion about the LL, KRS, and Scarface. I do.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's not just hands down. Like, I mean, if somebody feels that way, fine. But
right? So how about this? So Nas, J, Rakim, Ice Cube, and Tupac are ahead of Snoop, right?
Yeah.
And after that, it's kind of fair game, isn't it?
I think so.
Me too.
I think so.
Because here's the thing: for as much as, and I thought about this. Imagine if Snoop's best album was Cheat Codes or Kiss the Game Goodbye. Or Tikal.
I mean, listen, and I say this respectfully because
you get what I'm saying? So try to flip it around and understand it. It's like, do you know how we would talk about Black Thought if Black Thought had a Chronic, a Doggy Style of 2001 under his belt? How we would talk about meth? We still talk about meth sometimes that way just because it's contribution. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like we cannot understate it. It's like, man, I love Kiss. We all know Kiss is a better MC lyrically than Snoop. But he doesn't have anything even remotely close to Doggy Style. Like, he's not even, he's a few solar systems away from having something Doggy Style caliber as a solo MC if we being real.
No, you're right. It is what it is.
Ain't no way around that.
And that's
shit.
No disrespect, but
ain't no disrespect. These are things that factually happen. And this is what I mean about the East Coast bias. It's like, well, Snoop make better records than you niggas, so you niggas want to make it about the rhymes.
It does seem very convenient in that sense. And again, when we
Pac and Ice Cube are running it around this time too. That's what I'm saying. This whole East Coast bias. It's like, well, who's selling records from 1990 to 1995? Well, Ice Cube's going double platinum. Dr. Dre's going 4 times platinum. Snoop's going 5 times platinum. Tupac over here selling 2, 3, and 4, like literally going up by the millions every time. And niggas over here selling 500,000.
I mean, what people got to understand is, when Pac came over to Death Row, Snoop was the big dog. Was. No pun intended.
Pac's second album got put on hold because Ice Cube was the man, and they was like, no, we think you're going to do some numbers, but Cube got shit on lock, and he's selling so many records right now for a rap artist. We don't want your rap sales to get hurt by the records that he's moving because y'all have similar content and subject matter.
Jay Short with the Super Chat says, so I'm supposed to knock Snoop because Corday wrote a hook for Say It With Your Body on Snoop's 17th album. So we still talking about hooks, guys? See, I'm going to go back. Y'all going to make me go back and do a whole bunch of research and come back on Friday.
Kaya, hold on, Kaya. We all know Pac is not really from NYC. It's really
Baltimore. My God, are we going to do that today?
No. Hold on. No. Since people want to get it right, it's not NYC. It's really Baltimore.
Are we really going to do that? New York going to start claiming MC New York again?
You see what they're trying to do, but Pac, what's Pac claiming? Pac claims the Bay. Pac claims Cali. Y'all don't get to take.
What did the great Rakim say?
He wouldn't have had that while he was here.
What did the great Rakim say? It ain't where you're from,
Where
it's
you're
where
from,
you're
it's
at.
where you're at.
So ask Pac where he represented. Jamar with the super chat says, legends are legends, and Snoop deserves more reverence than he gets. But the top 10 argument has remained pure. Besides hooks, no ghost writing should be allowed at any point in your career. Man. Okay, so again, I want that same smoke for everybody that says that MC Lyte is the GOAT. And I'm just going to keep it real, man. We got to be consistent here. We know that LL wrote verses for Lyte. We know that, some of her brothers wrote some stuff. We know that Tretch wrote a lot of that Black Rain album for Queen Latifah. Are we going to do that?
If we're playing those games, Pharrell gave Busta the first 2 bars to pass the Cavassier and bust out the conversation now. Okay. You get what I'm saying? That's how foolish it sounds. It's like Pharrell gave Busta the first couple bars off past the Cavassier. Is that not ghostwriting?
Again, man, why do we not do this for the Lil Kims of the world, man? Like, why do we not? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's whole reference tracks out there for Kim. There's whole reference tracks out, well, not reference tracks out there for Latifah, but my nigga, you can listen to UNITY and tell that Tretch wrote that record. I mean, come on, it is what it is. DJ Bruce Almighty says, do y'all think that Kanye is top 10 worthy?
Hold on. Yeah. Michael Jordan was born in Brooklyn. What does he claim?
You
ever heard Michael Jordan ever claim Brooklyn even though it's his birthplace, Mike?
He just goes to New York and lights them up.
Right, but he's not. But he was born in Brooklyn. He's not from Brooklyn. He's from Wilmington, North Carolina. He's from Port City, and he claims North Carolina. So it don't matter where you were born. It's about what you represent. I tell people all the time, it's like, no, I was born in Charlotte, but I was raised on the east side. I went back to the west side because my grandfather sent for me for school and for college. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no. People be knowing where they're from. The birth certificate don't mean shit. It's just a landing spot.